We are live. It is yet another day of the Bulhoek Massacre virtual commemoration, hosted by Thandolwethu Kadlanga, umuntu ungawuyengwayo umalinge, undima kaNkumbuzo, umntana enkosi. Namhlanje I am humbled and grateful to have a guest of a great caliber, and one of the persons who has taught me a few things about ibandla likaThixo nengcwele zikaKristu, utata umvangeli Cameron Mavuso Dokoda. As you can see him on the platform he's on, and we have visited him at his house. Just for a few seconds, I'm going to open up with a sequence that we normally open with, and immediately after that we proceed with our program of the day. As I have said earlier, we are on the day 3 of the virtual Bulhoek Massacre commemoration, and you only can hear me from the back room. And I want to remind you again that as we are continuing with this conversation, you are allowed to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pont de Politique. Pont de Politique is a French name that means bridged politics. You are allowed to subscribe to our channel to grow our conversation. And also, you can send us your comments, your questions, and any clarifications for Utata Mvangeli. Thank you, Mvangeli, for joining us. Good afternoon, Botani Israel.
Botani Judah.
Yes. Mvangeli Dokoda ngubani, when did he get to be in the Church of God and Saints of Christ? Inkonzo AmaSirayeli.
I was born in this church. I grew up in this church. I'll die in this church. I've given up my life for this church. It is my grandfather who was converted by Prophet Enoch Mgijima. And my parents, since I was born, I knew them to be the members of the Church of God and Saints of Christ. And I'm also the member of the Church of God and Saints of Christ.
So for all your life, this is what you know.
Yes.
When it comes to spirituality, when it comes to religion, when it comes to the way of life.
This is the only one I know. This is the only thing I know.
Yeah. As I have said that Mvangeli Dokoda is an evangelist in the church. And you will notice, because in many of my writings, whenever I talk about the church, I always refer to it as AmaSirayeli, not Israelites. It's the same thing, but it's I'm always using it as AmaSirayeli. Now, the main point that Mvangeli Dokoda had raised and a critique against me, on against people who think like me, and this is going to be the beginning of our conversation. This overemphasis of locating only the Bulhoek Massacre, as if Bulhoek Massacre defines the church. Now, in your understanding, how do you think we should understand this particular issue around the Bulhoek Massacre, which occurred on 24th May 1921?
The Bulhoek Massacre is the part. It is an incident within the history of the church. Otherwise, the church was established by Enoch Mgijima, the prophet. And we believe, and we are very much in belief that he was God's messenger to re-establish our faith. Our faith, which is connected to our grandfather, spiritual Nazca fathers, grandfathers, or forefathers, starting with Noah, Shem, Abraham, up to the coming of Prophet Enoch Mgijima. Yes.
Now, linkage phakathi Prophet Mgijima and Prophet Crowdy. How do you understand that particular link?
Well, Prophet Crowd is in America, and Prophet Mgijima is in South Africa. Prophet Mgijima started preaching, though he started seeing the visions in 1907, but he started preaching in 1911 around Whittlesea and Queenstown. And it was at that time that Bishop John Mgijima came to Ntabelanga to meet with Prophet after a vile ukuthi there is a man preaching the same doctrine, sort of the preaching was the same, the preaching of John Mgijima and Enoch Mgijima, and he traveled from Jotunheim to come and meet him. And the decision was made then that the people that Mgijima had gathered around him, they should join the Church of God and Saints of Christ established by Prophet Crowdy in the United States of America. The decision was made to join it and not to start a new thing. Okay. That is how.
And the leadership, therefore, was the agreement was that they are going to be led by Bishop John Mgijima.
John Mgijima was already a bishop, and he was leading the church based in Jotunheim. Okay. You know, so there was no question of making a decision and all that, because thereafter, after they had decided to join that church, the Church of God and Saints of Christ, they were baptized by elders that were sent by Bishop John Mgijima. So there was no question of decision whatsoever. Even the first Passover at Cornerstone, John Mgijima presided in that Nazca Passover, and he in fact ordained the prophet as a world evangelist.
Okay. And therefore, from your understanding, you are of the view that the church is the same. It's just that it's located in two different.
The church is the same.
Okay.
It is just that the other one is in America and this one is in South Africa. And it so happened, another thing that we need to take into consideration, indaba yokuthi our culture is not the same as our brothers in the United States of America. We differ.
Because of enslavement as well.
Because of enslavement as well. And because of oppression in the other side of the Nazca, because we were not quite enslaved, but we were oppressed. But they were slaves. We were not slaves, but we are under oppression. That is the difference. Because I think we need to define those two as different.
And therefore there's no contestation between the church as established, or the church in America, let's put it like that, and the church in South Africa. For you, there is no difference.
There is no difference at all.
And sibuyele kule ndawo ke mvangeli besithetha ngayo yentlekele yaseNtabelanga. Yokuthi in the current popular discourse, you would hear that even in government, you saw that in the 100th anniversary of the Bulhoek Massacre, there was a spectacle, there was a big hullabaloo, there was an installation of monuments. One of them is here at the Hexagon Hotel, at Hexagon Square. So there were all these things that you're talking about. But for you, you feel like there is something that is being abandoned, not only by us, I mean, not only by government, but by the people of the church themselves, as to they are abandoning the essence of what the church means, what the church stands for, and what the church seeks to achieve. Am I gathering you correct in that thinking?
Well, thinking, yeah, when it comes to that is that number one, we elevate Bulhoek Massacre more than the prophet himself.
Okay.
The person who re-established, who in fact re-established our faith here in South Africa. We elevate Bulhoek Massacre as if it is the third thing, but it is not. Prophet Mgijima is the person who started who established the church, our faith. So inkonzo ke uba if uyayijonga inkonzo yethu ayinaxesha lakho umprofeti Mgijima at all.
Yeah.
We do not commemorate or memorialize umprofeti Mgijima at all. Ifocus yethu is on the, I don't know whether I'm correct to say focus, but sijonga kwinto ye-Bulhoek Massacre, which is now overtaken by politics more than the spiritual aspect. It's the politics that are dominating now the Bulhoek Massacre, and the church is leaning on government.
It's leaning on politics.
On politics. They want ukwazisa in order to make the Bulhoek Massacre known by the world, which is wrong. The first thing we are supposed to do is to try and put efforts zethu zonke in memorializing umprofet Enoch J. Mgijima, followed by the Bulhoek Massacre.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around. Not the other way around. It's a commemoration of Prophet Mgijima is not existing at all.
Even in the church.
Even in the church. I'm talking about the church. I'm not talking about other institutions. I'm talking about this church. We do not memorialize our spiritual father. Ifocus here to instead Bulhoek Massacre. If, for example, even now, they speak of a rebellion, who is funding that rebellion? Politics are funding that. Because we're going to the elections in 2024, then you're going to hear that halabaloo you were talking about, that happened 100 years anniversary. Xa kuza kwi-question yenkonzo, inkonzo was 100, the first Nazca baptism took place in 1912, December in Kislev, in our Nanzika. Did you hear about it? Did you hear about it? No.
Not in the public discourse, not in the media, not anywhere.
I was leading music. We tried to do it, but we were boycotted. We tried to do it. I was leading music committee. We tried to do it. We spent money, but people did not attend. That is the sad part of the whole thing.
On this thinking of saying Bulhoek Massacre is as a result of the coming of Prophet Mgijima.
Yes.
And therefore it should follow that particular trend.
Exactly.
The coming and the, if we were to call Ilandezi Bulhoek Massacre a pinnacle of Mgijima's messaging.
Yes.
Institution, church, and all that. But ndizawufuna ke ngoku siye phaa kuMgijima, because when the critique that is very critical and important, and I would therefore want us not to just make a critique around the issue of Bulhoek Massacre and Enoch Mgijima, but you then take us through the particular line of who Mgijima is, who Mgijima was, because uti aga commemorate. But here in the Komani Takastat up until Ekradok, there is an Enoch Mgijima municipality. Last year there was a big reportage around the building of a stadium. I'm saying building in inverted commas in Lesotho. It's under the Enoch Mgijima municipality. Now you are saying Mgijima is not being commemorated when actually the municipality that is run here where we are is called Enoch Mgijima. How do you reconcile the two things? Because the entirety of these Smolanyana municipality, from Lukanji, Tsolwana, Temba, they are all Enoch Mgijima.
The church was not involved in that. Mgijima's followers were not involved in that. That was between the politicians and the Mgijima family. Otherwise, the church would have refused. That would be the stand taken by the church. It would have been refused, because that is not the way to commemorate Enoch Mgijima. I believe, Uti, there is another way that we should do it, which is much more on the spiritual side than politics. So the church was not involved. It was not even consulted when it comes to that. The renaming of Ilukanji municipality and all those Kwanza and all that to Enoch Mgijima. Church was not consulted. In fact, there was no need for them to consult the church, because that has nothing to do with the spiritual aspect of the church at all.
So if it was, do you think therefore Mgijima is being absolved? Therefore, Kaubona lendlela lo masipala wakwa Enoch Mgijima is managed, governed, is run, is administered. Do you think therefore Mgijima is being absolved, or the church, for that matter, which does not believe that it was supposed to even be, the amalgamation was supposed to be named Enoch Mgijima? Do you really think the church could be absolved in that?
Yes. It has nothing to do with it. Now look at what is happening at the Enoch Mgijima local municipality, and you associate that when you talk about it, when you talk about the bad things that are happening now. You know, this situation, the state of the Nanska, the towns, the places where people are staying, the debt, all over. Then you associate that with Enoch Mgijima. Mgijima didn't come for that. He never stood for that. There was a sixeko esingcwele, the holy city in Ntabelanga.
Take us through that. Take us through that.
It was beautifully built. It had beautiful streets. It was a new Jerusalem. The city in Ntabelanga that was demolished after Inanska people were killed by the Nanska, the oppressors. It was very beautiful. Neatness was one of the things that were so much celebrated, so to say, by AmaSirayeli. AmaSirayeli were very neat. Everything that was done by Mgijima ifundisa abalandeli bakhe, that he taught to his people, cleanliness, honesty, and all those things. Well, I don't have to talk much about the honesty, and you know. And in fact, let me not say you know. We have got 10 commandments. Our way of living. is based on the 10 commandments. And a man who taught us the 10 commandments to be named after this mess. This mess. You say, of this Nazca local municipality. It's a disgrace. But fortunately, the church was not involved. It was not consulted. Then that is what is good about the whole thing. Otherwise, if the church was and agreed to this thing, that would have been I do not know how to name it. It would have been very, very bad.
I'm one of the people who always criticize the church around its quietness in relation to the things that are happening around in the Enoch Mgijima municipality. I'm one of the critics who always says, for an example, the church would come out of a general synod, would come out of a general, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Ipasika. And you would also associate now Mgijima. Here are the followers of Mgijima. Here is the situation happening in the vicinity that is named after Mgijima. And I always criticize the church to say, the church keeps quiet about these things. The church, we couldn't hear the church speaking at Koshalesa Stadium, Samakri. We couldn't hear the church also talking when the citizens of the local municipality were protesting around the governance. Do you think that my critique is in the right place?
You are correct. You are correct. Very much correct. In fact, we are the people. We are not supposed to be the tail. We're supposed to be the head. Our stand should be very clear. We should stand for peace and justice. And whenever these two are absent, we've got to stand up and say, this is wrong. But you will only be able to do this if we are KwaZulu on your own. If we are KwaZulu, if you can stand on your own and not lean on politics, then you will be able to do it. But if you lean on politics, you will never be able to stand up and criticize. They say you cannot bite the hand that feeds you. We have been compromised by the Bulhoek Massacre. We have been compromised by the Bulhoek Massacre. And in fact, it's not something new. It has been existing on the church for quite a long time. There is Umama Udora Taman who left the church many years ago because she was saying the church is not preaching what Mgijima preached. And I agree with her entirely. It is not preaching what Mgijima was preaching.
Would you kindly take us through that? What was Mgijima's preaching? First of all, you spoke about ukuzimela geqe. We call it self-reliance in African nationalism. We understand it as that. And fortunately today it's called African Liberation Day. Some people call it Africa Day, the establishment of the OAU. Now, you talk about self-reliance. Can you take us then, for the purposes of the viewers who are watching, who think that they know what Mgijima stood for? Actually, they do not know. What did Mgijima stand for? What was the type of sermons or what is the type of preaching that he wanted his people to get a sense of?
You see, Prophet Mgijima, he was sent by God, to ukukhubula in English, the ancient of days.
Okay. Bring back the ancient
days.
To
bring back the ancient of days and to teach us the 10 commandments, to teach us not only to remember the Sabbath day, but to keep it, which this world is not doing.
Sabbath day being which day of the week?
The seventh day.
The day that we
this
call
Saturday.
Okay.
To teach us not only to remember, but to keep it holy. Prophet Mgijima, he, in his prophets sayings, so to speak, he told about the coming of a destruction all over the world. In fact, when he wrote a letter to Uchief Mhlambiso, he said, as we are at Ntabelanga, we are like that stone. There was no hand. That stone which crushed that mfanekiso wawubonwa kukumkani Nebuchadnezzar. We are that stone. That is what we are. That is what we are. Keeping the Sabbath, which the world is against, and by so doing, bringing back the ancient of days, connecting us to the way of, to the way of life that was lived by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Teaching us the 10 commandments which are given to Moses by God. Those are the things the world has nothing to do with. Then, for us to be able to do that, we've got to stand up whenever we see that there is something wrong that is being done to the people, especially in our country whose majority is poor people. We've got to stand up and speak for justice, because what is happening, it is not justice. And all these things that I have said, this is in those justice, peace and justice. If you live according to the 10 commandments, that's a peaceful way of living. You don't live for yourself. So all these things, the world is not aware of them, is ignorant about all this that I am saying, but we are not strong in preaching those things. Our preaching is purposeless. That is what I can say. It is purposeless, as if we do not have the plan of salvation.
And out of this purpose or purposeful preaching that you say Enoch Mgijima had, I'm going to bring in my biases now in relation to my Pan-African orientation. If I look at the list of the people who were there massacred in Ntabelanga, you find Sotho surnames, Nguni surnames, Pedi surnames, and all of these, it seems as if there was a thread in Mgijima's thinking of uniting the African people, at least those who were in South Africa at the time. So Inkonzo Nenchumayelo kaMgijima did not only focus on the Xhosa-speaking Africans, but it went beyond that. Is that the correct way of also understanding Mgijima? If so, how did he do this?
Yes, Nanskadlanga. Prophet Mgijima, you are correct. If you go to the grave, I mean to the list, you see different surnames from different nationalities. But what we need to understand is that the Black people in Africa belong to the house of Judah. We belong to the house of Judah, so we are one. There's as izinto zezinantsika zeziba this one is a Xhosa, this one is a Sotho, this one is zizinto nje zoba singabantu sihleli emhlabeni. Otherwise, as Blacks in Africa, we belong to the house of Judah. So Mgijima was sent to the house of Judah, which is according to God's kingdom, it is the house where even Jesus came from, that house of Judah. And uyazazi ke Moses izukulwana kwencwadi kaLuka right up to uNoah. I mean uNansika Adam. So where he was preaching to the house of Judah. But when they were coming together, Tina Sazukuti, what we know is that this one is a Sotho, that one. What he did, he told his followers plainly to do away with iziduko. And he even said, Umntu othi mZulu, Mxhosa Msotho, yinja le, because we are one. The children of our grandfather Abraham.
So you're finding the thread here of to the viewers at home, those who also understand this day, the 25th of May 2023, it's the African Liberation Day or Africa Day for some people, and some of the great leaders of African nationalism in Africa had engaged also this similar thinking of saying, do away with tribes, rather stick to nationality. Now, Utata Mvangeli brings it out from ethnographic level and he places it at a spiritual level, and he gives it, the African people in Africa belong to the house of Judah. Now, the African nationalist leaders, they were engaging it at a political level and at an African nationalist level. Julius Nyerere is amongst those. Kwame Nkrumah is amongst those. And also Samora Machel engaged it also in the Free Mozambique. Now, Mvangeli, I'm raising this because it's part and parcel of teaching. This platform is a platform for teaching, to try and show how to this spirituality might link with the socio-cultural element. But Utege Ngogu, Mgijima built Isklego that was beautiful. And in me looking at all the archives, azange ndava kuthiwa hey aba bantu baseNtabelanga babehlala pha babene polio, babenezifo, ukubona abantu xa behlala in a refugee camp in an environment that is so oversaturated. You never hear of such. The teaching yakamgijima around the aspect of cleanliness, and please link this to the uniforms of the church, which are many. Ndiyayazi abantu abaninzi bazi ezilokhwe, but zilokhwe ezitheni, but link the cleanliness message of Baumlindi Kasraeli to the uniform. How do you link that particular issue?
Yes, that is one of the most important things that Prophet Mgijima did was to come up with his Ntabelanga for the church. The black and white, the white that is in as a uniform during winter time, and then the white suit during summertime. A white suit obviously is a xelela when it is dirty. Your white jacket is going to show you to the people that you see. So in that way, you are promoting cleanliness. And he told his followers, every Friday, you will know the situation at that time, that you cannot go to the beginning of the Sabbath service without washing your body.
So the beginning of the Sabbath service is a Friday evening's church service.
Yes. You can't go to that service ungakhange uvase umzimba wakho. They would go, at that time, they would go and wash imizimba yabo. Even my father, I grew up in Witwatersrand. My father, every Friday, I knew that uzawuya emlanjeni ayovasa umzimba before angene Sabbath. And us as children, we were washed by our mothers before singing Sabbath. That was, it was very important in ukuhlamba umzimba wakho. And you wear clean clothes. And Mgijima would tell, you must clean your houses. During this Nazika, the 1918 pandemic, was it a pandemic or
it's called pandemic in popular literature?
The 1918 pandemic. He told his followers to keep their houses, to paint them white and keep them clean in order not to suffer from that type of disease. And in fact, yolonto yenzeka kangangentoba many villages up Eastern Cape abantu babekholisa uzipeyinta mhlophe because they believed that if their houses are white, then bazakusinda from whatever kind of disease. So cleanliness, that is why kungazange kubekho sifo eNtabelanga. Akuzange kubekho bumdaka bufunyanwayo eNtabelanga. Not a single one of those policemen, even those who were demolishing those houses, who said there was filth. They were just seeing a sea of filthiness in Ntabelanga. Nothing of this. Everything, everybody was clean. So the city itself, the holy city, it was really a holy city. It had its streets, they were clean. Everything was clean. The tabernacle of congregation was clean. Everything was clean in Ntabelanga.
And here in this city, what amenities were there?
Well, there were no amenities because it was still new, because Bulhoek Massacre, they started building that city. It was started building of the city on the 20th of August, 1920. And the Bulhoek Massacre was very early in 1921, as you can see. So it was over a very short period. So I don't find any amenities that were there because the place was still very new. But they had to move fast in building it. They had to move fast because people were converging to Ntabelanga to hear the prophet. And in order to be able now to accommodate those people, they had to move fast to do that sit. Yes.
Let's go now to the spirituality, because I want us to delve on the aspect of the spirituality which we started with, and you said it is important. I always hear Mgijima, where I stay, he always say when you are hosting any event about Mgijima, you must ask them about those clothes and why they keep on doing. What are the significance of the march that is always seen either on social media or on TV, the march that AmaSirayeli do? That is the first one, the significant spiritual. But also two, you spoke about all these uniforms that you're talking about. The interest is always around the short one. And give us the spiritual significance of those clothes and how you worship as AmaSirayeli. Give us
Let us start with the march with this Ntabelanga. We use that uniform, we wear that uniform during the Passover for 4 days. So we commemorate in Nanzika, or we celebrate that feast of the Passover. That march, it signifies into, it symbolizes ukuphuma kwethu elizweni leJiphethe. When Pharaoh was chasing us towards the sea, that is why you see that march. Kuphuma kwethu eJiphethe. In fact, I wouldn't emphatically say kuphuma kwethu eJiphethe, except to say that it signifies the passing of the angel of death, the death angel. When it saw the blood, then it passes over that Nazca, that house, and it would kill Izibulo in every house that did not have the blood on the doorpost.
The signs.
Yeah. So la march, it signifies that angel would pass over all those houses that had blood. When it saw the blood, it would pass. That is the spiritual significance of that march.
Okay.
And what else we were asking then, the meaning, this Ntabelanga, this Nazca, this abantu abaninzi would think that perhaps isasinxibo sasenzelwe Bulhoek Massacre. No, it was not for that. I don't believe so, because siqale unxitywa in 1917, and i-Passover yayisemCheula, in one of the villages that are close to Ntabelanga in 1917, and Prophet had this prophecy that abantu they want freedom, but abantu will not get freedom. Kude kubekho abantu abayawubulawa ngenxa yelizwi likaThixo. People that would be killed for preaching the word of God. So wathetha ke yayi-first Passover kunxitywa esasinxibo in 1917, the first Passover sinxityiwe. Esi siprofeti esho asikho phambi kokunxitywa kwaso, not before that Nazca uniform. It was already worn in the Passover when he said that prophecy. And it was not called Ntabelanga. It was called Isnxibo. That regalia is for the saints. Sisnxibo sabangcwele. That regalia is for the saints. But now it inherited lento yale Nazca yale yesinxibo samaGorha, because when they were killed in Ntabelanga, babinxibe sona, you know. Yes. Then that is number one. The other uniforms, I would not be able to tell you the spiritual significance of a black and white, except to say that it's a winter Nazca uniform that we wear. Number one, inkonzo yethu believes equality. We believe that people should be equal. And so therefore, black and white, when you look at us wearing a big black and white, you see nothing but equality, that these people are equal. Akukho mntu who is higher than the others. That also applies to the white suit. You know, that we are equal. Before the eyes of God, we are equal. If you were to say to me on the spiritual side of it, I would say before the eyes of God, we are equal. And what you need to understand also is that people are coming from different backgrounds. So in order to bring those people together so that they are united, you've got to show that kind of equality.
What about the funerals?
Well, Prophet Mgijima, he came to bring us into one family, the family of God. When we grieve together. That is that uniform. When we grieve together. You don't grieve in isolation because mhlambi wena swelekelwe by one of members of your family. We grieve with you because we are one family.
And you draw this from the Bible.
Yes. When Miriam died, AmaSirayeli had to grieve for 1 month. When Aaron passed on, AmaSirayeli had to grieve for 1 month. They couldn't move. They were set one place. During their wanderings in the wilderness. Because as one family, if there is anything that happens, we don't leave that family to grieve alone. That is the spiritual way. We grieve together. So see, we show this by wearing that black uniform. We show it. And when that Nazca grieving period is over, then we put down as a snap. We take it black and white if it is winter, and we take a white suit if it is summer.
Thank you for that clarification, Evangelist. There is also some aspects of that inkonzo izindlu zobhedeshe zakwaSirayeli. All of them, they seem to be standard. The standard in this way, the color, the structure, if we were to say the architect of them. Also, even the way things are done in ensuring that you build a tabernacle or a place of worship, there is this standardization of almost everything. Where do we draw that? And why are these important?
In our constitution, that smallanyana blue book, on the first page of it, it has got the design of a tabernacle, which was built a gamma stone, which was the first tabernacle to be built up as well as a Shiloh thereafter. I think it was followed by a Shiloh. So it was copied from that design. First page, the constitution, the way, the standard. So it became a standard all over, with the exception, of course, of the temple. Though the temple looks more like all other tabernacles, but the design at the Nazca, the rostrum, is different. There is no tabernacle that has got that kind of design. You know, the old Nazca. In fact, this one is not finished yet. Those things are still to be done. So that was the difference. But otherwise, it was copied from that design, which was on the first Nazca.
The other day.
Then the color that you are talking about, I think it's taken from what Mgijima said in 1918 when he said to the Israelites to paint their houses white. So I think it's taken from that. And in fact, white, you know, what is the meaning of white? You know what it means. The spiritual significance of white.
And for those people who don't know that inside the tabernacle of AmaSirayeli, it's blue.
Yes, it is blue.
It is blue.
Yeah.
And the blue represents
sky blue.
Sky blue.
Yes.
It represents an environment. It is an environment.
Yes.
Of closeness to God.
Exactly.
So I know that I'm raising these questions, Evangelist, because when we began this session, this series, we realized that there were questions that were being asked about who are these people? What type of church is this church? And we thought it was important that at least we should put it across that there is this particular orientation around Mgijima and what is this church about? Now let's go to the other aspects which are more now probably technical. Here you see that inkonzo ingena Saturday, and ordinary people would say, but no man, Christian churches, they worship on Sunday. Here is the church also. Instead of celebrating Easter, it celebrates a 7-day Passover. Christian churches have got 3 days, 4 days Easter. Here is the church. It thinks about a general synod or a general assembly, which takes about 7 days, which draws from the Solomon inscription, bringing in the men to come and engage. Here is the church also talking about that they belong to the house of Judah. And there's this linkage of kungati kukhona, this breakaway in the thinking theology of AmaSirayeli. There's this breakaway from the traditional Christian Orthodox. Now, how would you then define? I don't like these things, but I'm asking this question. Lendo boxer, we make it into in a particular box. Ungayichaza njani inkolo yamaSirayeli in all of these nkolo zikhoyo?
Prophet Mgijima, the type of theology he brought is a theology of liberation, I should think so. That has this spirit of prophecy in it. And it's the spirit of prophecy started with Noah, as I said to you, then Abraham, Moses, and all the other, Jesus, and all the other, Moses and all the other Nazca prophets after him or before him, but if there were prophets before him. There is, I don't think when Jesus was in the world, he preached Christianity. I doubt very much. I don't find it. I don't find it also that when Moses was in the wilderness with the children of Israel, he preached Judaism or Israelitism. I don't think so. I think Jesus preached when he was in this world the gospel of the kingdom of God. That applies also to Moses, the lawgiver. He preached the gospel of the kingdom of God. So Christianity, I do not know what is Christianity. I do not know what is Judaism. I do not know, but what I know is that as the children of Israel, we are the saints of the Most High God. That is what we are. And we belong to the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is divided into two. There is this spiritual realm where God resides. And then kubeko, this one which is in this world, which is the church of God and saints of Christ. It has nothing to do with the denominationalism. The church of God and saints of Christ is the church of God and saints of Christ everywhere. Everywhere. So I don't think I am a Christian. I don't think I'm a spiritually, and that I'm a Jew spiritually. I'm a saint of the Most High God. But nationally, I belong to the house of Judah. Being the saint of the Most High God, I am a saint because I believe in the 7 keys that have Enunciated the 10 commandments in them. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe in the resurrection of the saints of the Most High God. So I'm a saint. I can't call myself a Christian. I'm a saint.
I see. I hear that, and thank you for that. You're talking about, as we going towards the end, now we're bringing it back into our society. Mgijima organizes people, Mgijima preaches to people, and then there is this saints of the Most High God. And for them to experience the spirituality that you are referring to, they then looked for a city. And that city was then Ntabelanga.
Mm.
And Ntabelanga was one important element to Mgijima. Was it important because of the location, or was it important because of the message that he had received to say that this is Akhala up in Ntabelanga? And why is the land aspect in the spirituality and in the preaching of Mgijima became important? Because in Ntabelanga ikho sesibhakabhakeni, Ntabelanga ayikho isemhlabeni.
Kaloku Dlanga. Let us go back. Let us go back to our spiritual grandfather Abraham. uThixo wamkhupha from his Nazca kindred in Ure yamaKhalidini, and he said, wahamba kwilizwe leKanana, and he made as a covenant with him. So when AmaSirayeli were in servitude in Egypt, they were not able to practice izitatuses kaThixo according to the sublime requirements. So God had to bring them out. of bondage and give them a land where they would be able to practice everything that God gave to them, where they would be able to live according to the 10 Commandments. Ntabelanga should be seen on that aspect. Yokuthi Ntabelanga was meant to be a place for the Israelites to stay there and worship God from there, where they would be able to practice zonke izinto uThixo afuna bazenze, like keeping the Sabbath holy, holy convocations, the Passovers and all that, freely. Manenza umzekelo Dlanga, if for example umhlaba lo wethu, that is the Church of God and Saints of Christ, starting up at Templin right up to Ntabelanga, was belonging to AmaSirayeli, and AmaSirayeli were staying there, I don't think COVID-19 would have affected AmaSirayeli to close itabanakele de angabi nayo iPasika. I don't believe so. I believe ukuthi if we had our holy city, we would have commemorated all the Passovers during the COVID-19 pandemic. But because sihleli phakathi kwabanye abantu kwilizwe elingelo lethu, umhlaba ongengowethu that belong to other people or other politicians, whatsoever you can call it. So we are affected, we're amongst these people. So we're bound to padlock itabanakele zethu.
So you're linking this to that self-determination,
yes,
self-reliance that you spoke about.
Exactly. Then inkonzo yethu ibifanele into yoba ingacompromise i-leadership yethu by saying to the government, give us our land. Between Mgijima no-Wiki, from Queenstown to Ntabelanga, give us that land. That is according to heritage route. That land belonged to AmaSirayeli, because uba uchekishe heritage inansi route kaMgijima. So that area AmaSirayeli ayifamba ayayinikwa to develop it and to create jobs for their people, so that now so if we were when people would work on Friday 2:00, they put down the tools zomsebenzi and they prepare for the Sabbath. Do you think South Africa would be like as it is today? Because God says, if my people, upon whom my name is called, bayazigoba, bafune ubuso, bathandaze bafune ubuso babo, baguquke kwimikhwa yabo ekhohlakeleyo, I will hear in heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land. South Africa wouldn't be like this, because ngebe khona abantu, no matter noba bebe minority, those people, as we are the minority. In fact, we are nothing but a drop in the ocean according to the population as a South Africa. That smaller group of people, that remnant, and their prayer goes straight to God. In South Africa wouldn't be like it is today. There would definitely be, we would be definitely seeing a different situation completely. But because I do not know whether City AmaSirayeli, we do not know exactly the Church of God and Saints of Christ, or we don't understand the preaching Mgijima. I do not, as far as I claim Alenda. And another thing is South African government has nothing to do with the Bulhoek Massacre. At the time Bulhoek Massacre happened, South Africa was a British colony. So the British government is guilty of that. Guilt. It is the British government that's supposed to see to it that AmaSirayeli are compensated. Galando bayenza pha eNtabelanga. So AmaSirayeli ke befamba analo mhlaba, that piece of land within South Africa. I-Orania ndithi khona ikhona kuthiwa i-Orania ne? Yes, that kind of piece of land. Not that they wouldn't be governed by government. Yes, government, everything, but now that piece of land where goes kuthiwa kuthiwa ayingeni imoto ngesabatha, kuthiwa ayingeni ngemoto, finish qwaba. And that place remains quiet. There's tranquility on the Sabbath day. Then we would be seeing a different South Africa.
So if it was you, if it was according to your powers, you would elevate rather the commemoration of the man, the prophet.
Yes.
Rather than the commemoration of the Bulhoek Massacre.
It would come after Mgijima. Definitely after Mgijima.
You would not isolate it, but you would.
No, I would not isolate it. And there's no way that you can do it. There is no way. Because, they died because the Sabbath day was concealed. 10 Commandments buried. So they had to bayihole phansi kwerhamncwa iSabbath. Because usho uMgijima kwathi bathi sihola iSabbath irhamncwa liqoshele ngayo. So you can't. They're supposed to go together. Mgijima then followed immediately by the Bulhoek Massacre.
Go back at Masidi umuntu who has watched this 1 hour 7 minutes of the conversation that we are about to close, and for you, Mvangeli, when you would say, if you did not hear everything that I said, what is this one thing that we would like our viewers to take home with, so that when they sit down tonight, when they sit down tomorrow, or any other day, watching this, because this is going to be archived for a long time. When somebody watches this last part, what is this one thing that you would say, this is your take home about this entire conversation that you had now?
I think, Idlanga, what people should take home is that God has a plan of saving our people, of saving his people, not our people, sorry, of saving his people from the bondage of sin and darkness. He has a plan. Which abantu bebefanele into yoba they know about that plan. They know about that plan. And I'm sure if it were not for the Bulhoek Massacre, which had a very serious impact on the growth of the church, maybe many people would know that God has a plan to save his people from bondage. we are in bondage. For us to have a vote, this freedom where we go to the voting booths and vote, it is nothing. It is nothing. Look at our people. Look at our situation. It is nothing. Then we would be praying with a stronger voice. God would be much pleased to see a bigger number of people exalting his name above the hills. Surely he would have mercy upon the masses of this country.
And for you is that the masses of the country, they need to look at Enoch Mgijima from a spiritual perspective.
Yes, sir. That is what they're supposed to do.
He
was a prophet. Much as he is Mayekiso's son, but he was given a different body. And you can see this because he preached not from people he did not know. He preached to the people he knew, the people who knew him. But they believe, when they looked at him, they did not see Enoch Mgijima, the son of Mayekiso. They saw God's messenger. That is what they saw. And they believed that what he was saying, it was not coming from him. It was coming from God.
Last question. Enoch Mgijima wabanjwa. Wangena etrongweni. Wahlala iminyaka. But when he comes out, did he give up on the quest that he was part of? Ordinarily, from some people, they would run away and be like, "Andifuna uphinda ndibanjwe." His first speech to his followers, difuzeni, dikhalipile. Difuzeni, khalipile. Well, uyaziwe na ngesingesi ufuna. Take after me, because I am courageous. Exactly. And what he did, you know that he applied for a site to build a school and a temple. That site was meant for a school. That is not its size that you see. It's bigger than that size. Okay. The site. That is not the site. That is not the size of the site he was given to. In fact, the Queenstown municipality said makazicandele yena ngokwakhe, because he was going to build a church and a school. Hence, after him, Bishop S.P. Mgijima started the Mgijima Primary School. It was because of that. Thank you very much, Evangelist Cameron, for this wonderful conversation. And thank you also to those who are watching with us. We've seen various people who were making comments. Thank you. And Mvangeli also, I'm sure he appreciates your comments that you are putting across. May you use this time and this podcast for your own advantage. There are some few gems that he had thrown into the mix. One of them was God has a plan to save his people, and others. So thank you very much. Enkosi Mvangeli kakhulu, siyabulela ngokusinika ithuba lokuba sithethe nawe. Thank you. Much appreciated. Siyabulela ke AmaSirayeli, sithi ke ngesi-Israyeli xa sivala inkonzo sithi nguJuda oqala mabini anesine mabini anesihlanu. Thank you very much, and see you again tomorrow when we will do a critical analysis, including an academical exposition of the Bulhoek Massacre and Enoch J. Mgijima with Thandolwe Tukahlanga, uMntungwa, uYengwayo Malinge, uNdima kaNkumbuzo, uNkomoshe. Enkosi kakhulu, thank you very much. Bye bye, see you tomorrow.